Knowing how to structure your essay once you have written your thesis is important. You want your essay to flow, and the best way to do this is to know the basics of organization. I always tell my students that if you don't naturally enjoy writing, writing can begin as a sort of equation for you. If you follow these steps, they will help you structure and organize your essays in the social sciences, and you will be prepared to organize any timed writing or essay. Our focus in this video is to review the basic elements and the structure of a good social studies essay, specifically focusing on the introductory and closing paragraphs, and to review the basic rules that will help you to successfully execute each element. The basic structure of your essay should be as follows. The first, your introductory paragraph and thesis. This is your opportunity to first share your ideas with the reader and which direction the essay will go. The second part is the body of the essay. This may be several paragraphs. This is where you will lay out your evidence and try to prove your thesis. The third and final part is your conclusion paragraph. This is your last chance to bring all of your ideas together and to try to make your case as to why your thesis and ideas were right by summing up all of your arguments. Now let's examine the essential elements of executing an introductory and concluding paragraph in an essay for your social science classes. You want to begin your introductory paragraph with an opening sentence. This should be a sentence that is general, but still specific to the time period or topic of the essay. Then, you'll want to provide some specific background information that demonstrates knowledge of the topic. You should not use details that you will use later in the essay. Perhaps use the causes of the movement or time period that you're writing about. This will be especially important if you are writing for an AP class, where every sentence really counts as an opportunity to show your reader what you know. Your thesis, then, generally should be the last sentence in your introductory paragraph. Some teachers may disagree with this, so you should pay attention to their instructions. Now let's take a look at a sample of an introductory paragraph for the essay question we have been working with, and identify each of these elements. The question or prompt we have been reviewing is, to what extent were the reforms of the progressive era successful at resolving social and political concerns of the time? Confine your answer to the time period between 1890 and 1915. Here is a sample introductory paragraph. We'll start by examining the first sentence. It should tell us about the topic, but be more general, to address the period at large. The first sentence here reads, at the turn of the 19th century, Americans increasingly faced the problems of industrialization and urbanization with a flurry of attempted reforms. This sentence is broad enough, but it also addresses the time period, so it's not just a statement about all of American history or civilization. The second part of the introductory paragraph should include specific details about the period, perhaps even the causes of the topic. The next sentences in our sample read, the growth of titans such as Andrew Carnegie and John D. Rockefeller and their monopolies, as well as massive immigration and migration to the cities, and the accumulation of power within political machines, led to dramatic inequalities in society. The result was the development of a movement called progressivism that sought to identify the source of these inequalities and respond with reforms aimed at fixing them. These sentences include specific background information and lead perfectly into the thesis statement by trying to identify the cause and the rise of problems. The thesis will then discuss whether or not those reforms were successful. Finally, the last sentence in this sample paragraph is the thesis, which we examined earlier. It sets up the direction for the rest of the essay. Now, let's examine the basic elements of your closing paragraph and how you will execute this to effectively end your essay. Your conclusion paragraph does not need to be long. Most often students are rushed at the end of the essay. It's generally better that you spend most of your time on the other parts of your essay, but you should always include a conclusion because it's your last chance to make your point. In your conclusion, revisit your thesis, and you will want to summarize each of your arguments in a few short sentences. I always suggest trying to sum up the idea of each body paragraph in its own sentence. Instead of looking at an entire paragraph, let's instead look at how to rephrase your thesis statement so that you aren't simply saying it again. Here is our thesis. Progressive era reforms were ultimately more successful at the state level as they attempted to resolve the social ills confronting workers and to redistribute political power away from parties between 1890 and 1915. We have already written our body paragraphs that prove each of these. Our ideas are greater success at the state level, confrontation of social ills for workers, and redistribution of power. We need to find a way to include these three elements again. Progressive reformers sought to reform the problems of living and working conditions for workers and the excess power of political parties at both the national and state levels. Although some success was found at the national level, reforms were implemented more often at the state level. One or two more sentences summing up your arguments, and you have your closing paragraph. Your introductory and closing paragraphs are critical points in your essay because they set up and sum up your essay. They will help direct your essay and, in the end, prove to your reader that you made your argument successfully. Employ these basic rules, and they will help you in almost any essay that you write for your history, geography, or other social science classes.